election, still more than 2 months away, but there's one race that's already heating up.
Adam Hamilton challenging incumbent U.S. Senator Roger Marshall, and early polling suggests it could be a close race. Sophia Jernander joins us to break it down. Sophia?
Yeah, Mike and Rachel, it's been 94 years since Kansas elected a Democrat to the U.S. Senate, but early polling between Adam Hamilton and Senator Roger Marshall is a lot closer than some expected. One political expert says this doesn't mean Hamilton will win. Kansas is still a red state, but he says if Kansans send a Democrat to the Senate, this would be the year.
Way too woke for Kansas.
Marshall votes with the corrupt herd in Washington for tariffs and war.
Maybe you've seen these ads. Senate candidates Adam Hamilton and Roger Marshall already attacking each other, with over 2 months to go until the November election.
If Democrats were to break a nearly 100-year-long streak of not holding any Kansas U.S. Senate seats, this might be the year.
Professor Michael Smith says Adam Hamilton has a chance to win, and he's not the only one. Cook Political Report recently changed their prediction for the race from solid Republican to likely Republican. That may not seem like a big difference, but it means people think Marshall's victory is no longer a given.
The fact that there's negative campaigning is actually huge, particularly that there's negative campaigning from Marshall. If an incumbent thinks they're going to win easily, they don't even acknowledge their opponent.
This Super PAC ad recites quotes from a sermon Hamilton gave at his church 6 years ago, claiming he is against the beef industry. Senator Marshall has repeated these claims on social media.
Cattle end up producing more carbon dioxide.
Hamilton's campaign says these quotes are taken out of context, saying he supports agriculture, and he recently released this ad.
Maybe Marshall hasn't noticed farm bankruptcies piling up on his watch.
Professor Smith says Hamilton is still running as a Democrat in a red state.
It's still an uphill battle, but he's a United Methodist minister that's built a huge church. It could give him a very significant advantage.
The Kansas Livestock Association supported Marshall in 2016 and 2020. So far this year, they have chosen not to endorse a candidate. I reached out to Marshall's team for a comment as well, but have not yet heard back.